Hello, all you lovely computer people, and welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market, where today we're looking at this unique specimen here. Well, there's two, a small pot, big pot, but I brought them both in here to show the differences between growing and so forth. Also, one of them had a flower. Right there. And it is actually a sort of pinkish lavender color, which I was not expecting, but we'll get into that in a moment. The scientific name of this plant is Solanum macrocarpon. It is known as Bog-no-may Nightshade greens, which consequently, just a weird tie-in. I find myself pronouncing that to my customers like Bog-no-may. You can blame Ask Mortician for that one. I'll put a link to the video in question in the description. Anyway, it is in the Solanaceae family, and it is a edible nightshade green. Okay, so I covered one before, and then I had to reshoot this one. Macrocarpon means large fruit, which is interesting because none have not produced fruit, and I'm not too worried about it. If they do or they don't, doesn't matter. They're cool. This plant is native to Togo and originates in India. You can grow it in USDA zones 4 through 11, and it is grown as an annual. Its soil pH preference is 6.0 to 7.5, and it prefers sandy loam that is well drained. Its exposure preference is full sun to partial shade. I've had mine in nearly full sun, and they seem to be doing just magically. The height can be 3 to 5 feet, and the width can be 1 to 3 feet. It is also known as African eggplant. Now, it is called that because, macrocarpon, apparently it produces fruit of some size or another, though none of the photos of it indicate what the fruit looks like, because it's grown for its leaves, not its fruit. Now, it is bred, as I said, for its edible leaves, and over the centuries, the nasty compounds that are common to nightshades that this might have had are no longer there. Or they're there in trace amounts that don't do you any harm, and since it's eaten cooked, it's an extra moot point, because most of the solenoid compounds usually don't survive cooking and or changes of water during cooking. So, this should be safe, though if you buy and grow this, you should try a little piece first and then work your way and see if you like it or if there's reaction. The typical test for reactivity should be fine. The fruit itself, though, when it finally shows up, guilt trip, is only edible when green. And I imagine it's like the bitter eggplants, like sometimes the Turkish orange is like that. Wow, look at him go. Outside the window, you see Menace off to the side there. He's watching two baby possums raid the cat food bowl outside. And one of them's doing little back leg kicks. It's distractingly weird. Anyway, you only generally want to eat the young leaves because the older ones can be a bit bitter. So these would probably be fine. But as I know from the other specimen, the leaves can get huge. Huge! No, bigger than it. Huge! And this plant matures in 85 days. Now, having grown this plant all summer, I have a few pieces of insight that you won't find online, unfortunately, because there's very little documentation about this plant online, which is a real stumbling block when I try to talk to anyone about it. First and foremost, it is a nightshade. It's going to need to be germinated like you would a tomato or an eggplant. So expect that it won't come up immediately, since it's more like an eggplant in many regards. Its leaves are huge, as you can see. These plants have predators. I mean, a lot of this leaf damage is due to insects chewing holes in it. This one's better off because it's in a different grow tray. Though you can see the leaf tips are not so great. Yeah. So if you want to grow this as a field crop, you're probably going to have to use some kind of organic pesticide or pesticide, depending on your preference. I don't judge either way because agriculture is agriculture. It responds to all the same fertilizers as every other nightshade under the sun does. So tomato fertilizer that's specific should be fine, though you may want to add more nitrogen since you're growing for leaves. I don't know if it gets blossom end rot or anything equivalent due to a calcium deficiency, because I haven't gotten fruit, so I wouldn't know. But the landrace specimen outside of Jahama, which we did a video on earlier, and I'll link to that also, It's producing berries like nobody's business, despite the fact the tips are burnt and curled from the summer's heat. It's been a struggle to keep that thing watered, and I don't know if this one has the same trait or not. Beyond that, though, for cooking these things, as I'm going to recommend, the leaves are great cooked, sort of like spinach. They don't taste like spinach, they're sort of like spinach. That gives you an idea of the range of recipes it can conceivably go in. But what I would recommend doing is blending it in with another cooked green until you're used to it, like mixing it with Swiss chard or spinach or mustard greens or kale or, that sort of thing, so that you can get used to whatever flavor it may have. I have not tried this plant yet because there's not enough plant to try. But at some point in the future, I may put a note up on the channel covering what the flavor is and whether or not I died. Now, these seeds came from a reliable source. I didn't order this off Etsy or anything. But it's an interesting crop that may or may not become very significant in our warming environment. So, that is Bog-no-may. Nightshade breeds. Now, if you have any thoughts on the Bog-no-may action, please leave a comment Please leave a comment. If you've thrown these, I'd love to share notes with you. The blog is still updating, of course. And, if you like this episode, please hit like. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. And as always, folks, keep them growing. Thanks for watching.